Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I bring to you the best Rajang weapons guide. All weapon types. The new Thunder meta? So this video analyzes the weapons of the boss monster of Season 3. The Rajang weapons are currently the most powerful Thunder weapons in the game. And each Rajang weapon type also has its own unique equipment skill. First, we're going to start off with the list of Rajang weapons. For the Sword and Shield, you have the Taboo Rajang Club. For the Great Sword, you have the Great Demon Rod. For the Long Sword, you have the Great Demon Halberd. For the Hammer, you have the Main Malice Rajang. For the Light Bowgun, you have 10,000 volts. For the Heavy Bowgun, you have the Rajang Destroyer. That's a pretty cool name, by the way. And you have the bow, which is the Beast King Thunder Bow, also super cool name. For the Dual Blades, you have the Suzuka Otakemaru. For the Lance, you have the Great Demon Lance. The Charge Blade, the Demon Super Surge. And the Gun Lance, the Great Demon Gun Lance. Next up, we have the Rajang Weapons Forge stats. So the Rajang weapons start at grade 5. Their element is Thunder with a base raw attack of 368 and a base element attack of 292. They also have a base affinity of minus 30%, so it's negative 30% unfortunately. And as you upgrade the Rajang weapons to max, the base elemental attack will get closer to the base raw attack. And here's the Rajang weapons forge cost. So your forge requirements will be 4 Rajang Fangs, which are rarity 1, 2 Rajang Claws, which are rarity 3, 6 Monster Bone Medium, which is rarity 2, 2 Rajang Prime Fangs, which are rarity 4, and 1500 Zeni. And now that we covered the forge stats of the Rajang weapons, how about covering the Rajang weapons with max stats at grade 10.5? Their element of course is still Thunder, with their max raw attack at 1579, and their max element attack at 1568. And the max affinity is still at negative 30%, so it doesn't go higher or lower. From Forge up until max, it's still negative 30%. And once maxed out, the Rajang weapon's max raw attack and max elemental attack will be very similar. For example, the raw max attack is only 11 points higher, so they're relatively close to each other instead of being like 70 points afar from when it was forged. And as with the stats, you also have forge costs. So here's the cost to max out Rajang weapons to grade 10.5. As you see here, Rajang has its own rarity 6 material, the Gold Rajang Pelt. And of course, with maxing out any type of weapon, Rajang also requires a lot of other materials to max out its weapons. In addition, you'll need 25 weapon refining parts and 423,500 Zeni. Now the estimated amount of Rajang you'll have to slay is 450 8-star Rajangs to obtain all the parts needed to max it out. And from personal experience, assuming you are doubling your rarity 6 materials, you can achieve this result in 500 to 800 Rajang hunts, or earlier if you are lucky. This is wild, by the way, so if Rajangs are on the field, rarity 6s are pretty rare, so you gotta get really lucky if you want to get all of them from the field, or if you do them in hats. In hunt-a-thons, usually rarity 6 drops are higher. And now this brings us to damage, and first we're going to start off with melee. This is the Thunder Elemental Monster type melee comparison. And here we take a look at all the Thunder Elemental monster types as of Curse of the Wandering Flame. As we see per the data, Rajang weapons are the strongest Thunder weapon type, even with the negative 30% affinity taken into account. However, before everyone rejoices like, oh my god, new meta, etc., the Rajang weapons barely beat Zinogre weapons, being only about 1% stronger. If you want to get more technical, it's 0.96%, so it's barely stronger. And of course, when it comes to Sisiyaku and Tobikodachi, they aren't on par with Rajang and Zinogre, but they do work as budget replacements. So if you have these and you want to use them as budget and you max them out already, they're perfectly fine to use as a substitute. If you want to, you can build the Rajang or Zinogre weapons, but it's totally up to you. And now we move on to probably the most exciting analysis for this video, is the equipment skills for the Rajang weapons. We're going to start off with melee here, and all weapon skills will unlock at grade 8. For the Sword and Shield, you have Slugger level 2, which increases stun power by 15%. For the greatsword, you get resentment level 2. When taking damage, attack power is increased by 15% for 15 seconds. Moving on to the boink of the boink, you have hammer, which gets part breaker at level 1, which increases part damage accumulated on breakable parts by 5%, as well as the longsword, which gives you focus level 1, which shortens charging time of charge attacks by 5% and increases the fill rate of the longsword and charge blade gauge by 5%. And for the next batch of melee weapons, we have the dual blades, which gives you power prolonger at level 2. This decreases the rate of the spear gauge of longswords by minus 10%, and the duration of demon mode of dual blades is increased by 40%. In addition, the duration of red shield of the charge blade is increased by 20%. You also have the lance, which gets burst level 2. Landing consecutive hits in a short span of time increases attack power by 10% for 4 seconds. And for the last of the melee weapons, we have the charge blade, which gets quick work level 1. Become ever so slightly faster at sheathing or transforming your weapon. Now that we covered the melee weapons, on to the ranged weapons for the Rajang monster type. First, we have the bow, which has Rising Tide level 2, which slightly increases attack power and defense as the hunt timer runs out. Next, you have the heavy bowgun, which gives you offensive guard level 2, which increases attack power by 15% for 10 seconds after executing a well-timed guard. And then you have the OG, the light bowgun, which has artillery level 1, which increases the damage of gun lance's ammo / wyvern fire attacks, charge blades fire attacks, and sticky ammo by 10%. Next up, we have the Rajang weapon equipment skills versus the rest of the Thunder elemental weapons. So, you were wondering, hey, you know, they're really strong or they look really good. Well, how do they compare to the rest of the Thunder elemental monster types? Because now we have 4 of them. The thing is, the Rajang exclusive weapon type skills are hit or miss. Some skills are useful and some aren't. Zinogre's Artful Dodger is still a great defensive skill, and Tobi Kadachi's Evade Extender is also a great defensive as well as a great movement skill. You also have Sisiyaku, which has a great skill in lock-on. However, only the longsword and dual blades are available weapon types for Sisiyaku. So unfortunately, it's not going to be for everything. It's just those 2 weapon types. Overall, pretty solid. Again, each has its merits, but overall, Thunder wins as being pretty useful in the equipment skill department. Moving on, we covered melee damage. How about the range damage? Starting off with the light bowgun. Here we take a look at the Thunder elemental monster types of light bowguns, and we have a damage comparison here. As we see per the data, Zinogre light bowgun is barely stronger than the Rajang light bowgun, which is 1.46% stronger to be exact. And this is when you take reload speed and recoil down level 3 into account. To get the most damage out of light bowguns, you must have both of these skills maxed out. So we're going to take that into this. However, it's worthy to note that Rajang light bowgun has artillery level 1 to increase the damage of sticky shots. Now we're going to get more into why the Zinogre light bowgun is actually better next. But before we go on to compare the 2 most powerful Thunder light bowguns in the game, the Tobi Kadachi light bowgun isn't really worth it unless you need a budget light bowgun. If you already built this, sorry, it sucks and it's still gonna suck. So you should probably work on building a Rajang or Zinogre light bowgun if you aren't doing it already, because again, the Tobi Kadachi light bowgun, it's not great, it sucks. Up next, we have the Rajang light bowgun ammo set versus the rest. Now here's why the Zinogre light bowgun is better than Rajang, because Rajang arguably has a worse ammo set versus Zinogre. This is due to the spread thunder ammo. So, that damage comparison takes into account the ammo types. And Pierce ammo was buffed in the last light bowgun rebalancing. So it was buffed, you also get more special skill energy, so Pierce is better. And unfortunately, Rajang has spread. In addition, Zinogre has a better constant ammo set versus Rajang. For spread ammo, what makes it a problem, you have to duck in, blast it, and then you have to go out of range by backing out, because likely the monster's probably attacking you. Hopefully it isn't. Now Rajang does have an extra sticky ammo, but it still has to cycle through 5 spread ammo shots. Moving on, now that we covered light bowgun, we have the bow. And this is the Thunder elemental monster type bow damage comparison. As we see per the data, the Rajang bow is stronger than the Zinogre one by a small percentage, which is 2.58% to be exact. Not that much. Zinogre does have the nice number of 3,569, however, it is not as good as the Rajang weapon. In addition, the Rajang weapon, the Rajang bow, does have Rising Tide level 2, so we have to take that into account. Next up, we have the Rajang bow shot types comparison. And here we take a look at all of the Thunder Elemental monster bows as of Curse of the Wandering Flame. As we see per the data, Rajang does not have any unique charge level to damage level types. In fact, all Thunder bows, unfortunately, as of right now, do not have any unique charge level of damage level types. So we don't have a super powerful shot type, whatever, as far as Thunder goes, yet. However, we do have to take into account that Pierce is the strongest shot type for bows and Rapid is the weakest. And guess what has the strongest one? The Rajang bow has Pierce ammo. So, if you want to build a Rajang bow, it might be really good for you. Dragon Ball GT. We don't speak of it, it's not canon, but it did have the Golden Great Apes, so you're gonna have to take out a lot of those Golden Great Apes, as in Rajangs, if you want to max out your Rajang weapons. So here's our overall analysis on the Rajang weapons. While they are expensive, if you already have Zinogre weapons maxed out, you don't really need to build a Rajang weapon. The good thing is, Rajang weapons have their own unique rarity 6, but maxing one again is still very expensive. There's nothing wrong with having one more, especially if you want to collect them, but they cost a whole lot of Xenia materials, so it's up to you. The thing is, most of the Rajang equipment skills aren't a must-have even though they are unique per weapon type. And as for the Charge Blade, Zinogre is better unfortunately, as Rajang has impact files instead of power element files. So before y'all raise the pitchforks, it was like this in the main series games. In closing, hopefully this guide helps you decide what Rajang weapon you want to build. If you already don't have a maxed out Thunder weapon, Rajang might be the one you want to go after. And it's pretty cool, because the Rajang weapons follow the main series games with a negative affinity. And if you noticed, I did not cover the heavy bowgun as MHN.Quest currently does not have the ability to calculate the damage data on heavy bowgun. So instead, I'm going to be making separate videos that include the heavy bowgun data in their best builds per element. With that being said, please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Hopefully y'all are enjoying everything Season 3 has to offer, and those Rajang are dropping all the rarity 6s you need, and hopefully we'll drop everything you need to max one out sooner or later if you're going after that. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.